Hello all of my otaku friends, my name is Prof Otaku and welcome back to my channel. On this Should You Read Sunday, we are double dipping into both anime and manga. We're going to take a look at the original anime series ID Invaded, a suspenseful action thriller detective series that was published in winter of 2020. We're also going to take a look at the manga sequel, ID Invaded, #BreakBroken. Should be a good time. Let's get started. So this anime follows our main character, Sakaido, as his job is to go into these things called ID wells. And these ID wells hold the subconscious of serial killers. And when Sakaido goes into these ID wells, it's his job to solve the mystery that is presented in front of him. And what the mystery mainly entails is there is a dead girl named Kairu, and it's his job to figure out why she died. So the creation of these ID wells come from these things called cognition particles. And so the detectives go to the scene of the crime. They use these radar guns to scan the scene, and they're able to pick up these particles, which allow them to create or take the subconscious mind. These particles have the subconscious mind of the killer, and then they're able to project it into a virtual world, which allows Sakaido to enter these virtual worlds and solve the mysteries. So the prerequisite for being able to enter these ID wells is that you've had to kill someone yourself. And so we get to explore Sakaido, our main character. His former job was he was a famous police detective, and one day a serial killer kills his daughter and his wife, a very brutal murder. And so he kind of gets a flip switched in him, and he goes basically nuts, and his job is just to avenge them and make the serial killers kill themselves through Sakaido's psychological tricks, basically, that he does to each of these serial killers. It's very interesting to see his interactions, but nonetheless, so he has killed someone, so he is allowed to enter these ID wells. And the whole point is they use the ID wells to explore the subconscious, and this allows them to find the serial killer in the real world through Sakaido's actions and the clues that he picks up as in his journey into these ID wells. So there's a couple things that I just really love about this anime original. And the first is the diverse cast of characters. All of them, between the police and the detectives and the serial killers, and then also with the overarching plot that's going on. Every character is so cool. They have such a deep and dark backstory. Their actions in the series itself are very connected to their personality traits, and it's really interesting to see the growth of several characters and their influence into the overall plot. Very, very, very good. And the second thing that just absolutely blew me away was the animation. You know, I am one of those people who love to watch anime originals, especially as I get more into manga. I like to keep the manga as a separate kind of source material, and if I do watch anime, which isn't very often, I do like to just go ahead and watch anime originals. And this is no exception in that they were able to really get a chance to focus on the animation and the different sort of visual aspects. What they do really well is when they go into these ID wells. Oh my goodness. And I'll throw some clips up so that hopefully I can find some things for you guys to watch. But man, it is just breathtaking to see it. So yeah, very, very, very nice to watch. The only pet peeve I have about this anime is actually like the first beginning 2 episodes, 3 episodes. You're just like the whole time you're like, what in the world is going on? And it's basically exactly like Wonder Egg Priority in the sense, you know, because you're like, they throw so many terms at you. It's just an information overload at the beginning. And I think it might be a little bit too much, to be honest with you, because then when you get to the end of the series, you're like, okay, I don't think you really needed it to be that confusing. Or they could have just explained it better and more simplified. So that's really the only pet peeve that I have with this series in general. So you just finished ID Invaded and you're like, you know, I just really want more of this unique and different world. Then I highly recommend you check out the first volume of ID Invaded, #BreakBroken. This is the first volume of a 3-volume sequel series, and this is in a completely original manga adaptation, and this was created by the anime directors of the series, so you know that this is like a legit type of source material for the series ID Invaded. This is basically about Sakaido. He gets put into this ID well, and the ID well presented in the first volume, just like the original series, is super interesting and intense and unique. The whole premise is that he is on a highway and the brakes do not work in his car. And nobody else's brakes work either. And so everybody's crashing and dying, and it's absolutely crazy. And he's trying to figure out how Kairu died. And then in the real world, they are trying to find this serial murderer who is going around killing people in cars. It's very unique. This is presented after the original series, a couple months after, and it presents some new characters and also brings back most of the cast from the original series. The artwork in this is absolutely fantastic. It's a very faithful adaptation in terms of the art style. Couple of little differences just drawing wise with the facial structures, but otherwise the action sequences are drawn super well. I like that with the manga, you know, they're taking their time. It's only going to be one case. There's only one case, from my knowledge, over 3 volumes. So we're really going to get to shell out this this specific case itself, which is really nice because then we don't have to rush. Especially in this first volume, we got a lot more detail going on. It was a little bit easier to follow than the anime, so I highly recommend checking this out. This is just super unique. You know, from my knowledge, I think honestly you could jump into this without even watching ID Invaded, and you would have no problem understanding what's going on. You might be a little bit confused about the ID wells and the function that it does, but you don't really need this for the first volume. It's just a mystery thriller. So yeah, that's just my personal opinions on it. I highly recommend you check this out for sure. So if you enjoy the content of this video, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tap that notification bell so that you know when more of my videos come out. With that being said, my name is Profitaku, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care now. Bye-bye.